So we will be having Dr. Alice PhD with the white pieces in this match, Eggplatnm with the black pieces, for those who are wondering. And we are off here. We have Eggplatnm with the black pieces, Dr. Alice PhD with the white. And yeah, so we start off with E4 from Dr. Alice, assuming probably E5 from Eggplatnm, but I guess we will see what he decides to go with here. He does go E5. I'm thinking Dr. Alice will probably bring out the knight here. He does. And now is where it becomes a little more sketchy. I could see Eggplatnm bringing out his bishop here. I could see him pushing pawn here. I could see him pushing this pawn even. So we'll see what happens. He could also bring out one of his knights as well. All right, and he does push this. D pawn to D6. And I'm probably Dr. Alice will continue developing his kingside pieces in order to castle. He could bring out, yep, he does bring out the bishop here to F4, blocking this pawn push here, putting pressure onto this F7 square. All right, and Eggplatnm bringing out his queen pretty early here. Probably not the wisest move. However, we'll see how Dr. Alice decides to attack that. Probably is he really has quite a few good moves here. Knight to C3, bringing out this knight. Pushing D4 here actually would also be a good idea. With that idea. Basically, he would just be trading off the pawn because the queen would not be able to retake this knight here because of the queen on the D file. Bishop E2 would also be a fine move, bringing it back here. He decides to push B3, potentially protecting the idea to protect this bishop. However, I would be a little wary of the fact that now this diagonal is now open onto the rook. This also does potentially open up a fianchetto here with the dark square bishop, potentially pointing it out here towards the queen, putting more pressure on that diagonal. So we'll see what happens here. C6 from Eggplatnm. And now we're kind of getting more into a middle game sort of idea here. Probably idea should be a castle pretty soon here for white. Black needs to start developing these pieces out here. Having this queen here makes it difficult to develop this knight, meaning that it's going to have to develop... Yep, he does fianchetto the bishop. It's going to be difficult to develop both of these pieces because this is blocking the dark square bishop, meaning it could only come here. This knight would then only be able to come to this spot for him to be able to castle. He could also decide to castle this way. However, his pawn structure over on the queen side is a little sketchy, just a little bit. It's okay, but it's not great. He does decide to bring out this knight. However, that does block his light square bishop completely onto C8. Now, Dr. Alice probably should castle here. He does. And now knight E7 would be an interesting idea here. Bringing out the knight to the middle of the board, maybe potentially bringing it over around like this, and kind of starting to get some ideas like this. Now that's a few moves ahead thinking, but I think this is probably a better square for this knight eventually, especially because his obvious spot would be blocked by the queen here. Pushes the pawn to b5, completely ruining his structure here on the queen side, meaning that the king is going to have to castle this way somehow if he is going to castle at all. The bishop is going to need to drop back here. I would say probably e2 is probably the best option here, but d3 is also a potential option. But I would say probably e2 because then it's not blocked off. You can easily move this knight probably somewhere else eventually. So you could do something like this to open up this diagonal for the bishop. As blocking and putting it right here, it's blocked by this pawn, and he does put it there. And he's not going to be able to move this bishop onto this diagonal until this pawn is gone, which would necessitate being pushed here on the d pawn for black. Eggplatnm continuing to push his pawns over here on the queen side, and now Dr. Alice pushing that c pawn, asking for a trade here. This is also kind of an issue here, having this d pawn blocked by the bishop. He doesn't take, instead opting to bring his bishop out onto a6, and let's go over to Dr. Alice and see what he might be thinking right now.
His pawn structure is advancing, which is like a little concerning, I guess. Yeah, see, there's that rook line I was talking about. He's leaving his king fairly exposed with what he's been doing. And like, this is just not developed. So I think I want to start trying to move kingside if I can. So I think that might start with g3, h4. Looking to start moving up this way. Or I can get this rook a little bit engaged. I really hate where this bishop is. I hate this. Can I trade this here? He has 3 defenders. I have currently 3 attackers. Actually, let's do this. Because now if I trigger things off on b5, I have 3 attackers. He has 3 defenders, so I will win material if he continues to push that spot. So I think this is where I'm going to try to open it up. And he looks to try to move his bishop in.
All right, so coming back here, so you kind of got Dr. Alice's idea here is to point these bishops out towards the king side material back here. And now he's starting to push this area here after the bishop move by Eggplatnm. So now he'll probably think about doing something like this. Yep, he does go with the knight in this situation. Now Eggplatnm, what he probably should have done was gone with the bishop in this situation in order to attack this bishop, forcing the bishop to attack and then take here. Brings the queen over, and knight c7 is a fork on the king and the bishop. So if he does see this, he did play it. It looks like he did play it here. Dr. Alice getting this very juicy. Yes, I am still here. Thank you, chess.com. And he pre-moves, taking the bishop. And now this knight is attacking the rook. So Eggplatnm needs to think about moving this rook, probably to a8, attacking the knight in turn and requiring it to go back. Instead, just bringing it up. So he can just leave this here. He can just kind of leave this here for now. He starts bringing his other rooks into play. C1 here with the rook, attacking this open file. This is a very, very strong position for white, completely winning. And he's continuing to attack over here on the king's side, forcing the king also to move into the open territory. I'd like to see something like him bringing the rook up here, bringing this rook over, and then trying to get the queen in as well, and trying to create a sort of Alekine's gun, which is pointing two rooks and the queen straight down the barrel out here at towards the king. That'd be a very, very strong position for him. As for Eggplatnm, I was going to say maybe he should start moving some of his pieces out. He does, bringing out his knight to c5. This now blocks this file as the knight is protected here by the pawn. Now what he could do is he could just trade off here with that material. That might actually be the best play. And he does so we're going to see this exact trade here, which would put the rook here, attacking these two squares. So we're going to see that rook come up actually, no, he doesn't want to do that as they have the bishop there. Wow, I am blind as a bat. So yeah, don't do that. What he can do, however, is he can take here with the knight on e5, and that is just a free pawn just sitting there. Now that pawn here on the d file is out of the way, this is just a hanging pawn. He does take it, and now this is a very, very scary possibility right here. He needs to move something here. He's almost guaranteed. He needs to protect this square. That's the reality of it. I would move the queen over, most likely, because if he goes here and he doesn't move, these. Oh, he's gonna take the queen here. That's the optimal option here. He has to move the king. Probably should take the queen in this situation. Yep, he does. He'll take the knight here, but this is a very, very winning position for white. He can push e5 on the next turn, threatening this knight, getting it out of the way, so that he can potentially bring this queen over. Okay, so he decides instead to protect instead of taking the knight. Now he can just bring the knight back, and he just saves it. Which would be, I believe, the ideal move. Actually, yeah, I mean, that's fine. This is fine. Bishop b5 is also fine since it's protected by the queen here. He does bring the knight out. Does put pressure on this bishop. White at this point can just trade off material. And that's another fork. That's another fork. This knight, these knights of Dr. Alice are putting in absolute work right now. So this would be a fork here, onto d6. He would win the rook here on b7 with that move. Now he's seeing the other two forks. He sees the third, and oh my goodness, this is masterclass from Dr. Alice, hitting all of his night forks here. I love it. I love it. Taking that that rook on b7, and let's take a look over at Eggplatnm and see what he's thinking right now.
This is a slaughter. I really messed up by not taking his knight. I had a free. I could take it for free, and I did not see it. But if I take it now, then he gets it. Wait. Oh, shoot. Don't take it. I need to keep my bishop, though. Can't move to these 3 squares. He's definitely could be utilizing his queen more.
And you see there, as soon as we switch over, he realized he should have taken the knight. And I like how I was like, let's see what he's thinking, and immediately this is a slaughter, and it kind of is. This is actually a great move, because if he does take the knight here, bringing this rook into play, that's actually a mating sequence. This still is... Like, this is really, really, really bad for black. This is a completely winning position for white, but taking here would have been a mate in 11 at the very least, I believe, according to the computer. He starts to bring his knight out here. I could see this pawn push here, bringing forcing the knight away, bringing this rook over, potentially just pushing this pawn. But we will see what ends up happening here. But again, Dr. Alice putting on a masterclass of sorts. Just beautiful, beautiful play. Black pushing pawns, basically the only thing that he can really do at this point. All right, bringing in the other rook here, and now he's starting to attack here on the open c file. He's gonna try to find a way to bring his knight out of the way, probably to a4 as soon as he's able to. Black, hard to say what to do here. You can bring that there. That's actually the best move. Somehow, according to the computer, bringing the rook over here, and now bringing the knight to a4 was the best move. This is also a great move, and we're in a mating sequence here as well. Knight is gonna have to move away here, or else it's a double check. Knight does move away, and now queen to e4 is the best move here. Bringing this, would need to eventually force the king away, probably to f8, and then basically just pushing this queen into play here. Just make sure that you don't blunder your queen to the knight here. Moves the knight away. This is still fine for white. Perfectly fine. Black starting to push pieces. Bishop to a3 here, check. All right, he's just looking to trade off the rooks. That's perfectly fine for white. And that is the best move for white. He goes rook to a7 instead, and now queen to h5 looks really nice, bringing this potentially into play here, and starting to push the king into the middle of the board. Trying to push it this way. Starts pushing his pawns here on the king's side. Dr. Alice is doing. This is really just you know, nothing really to say about it except that white is completely winning. Let's take a look at what Dr. Alice is thinking here with how he's going to find this net to mate Eggplatnm here.
Going nowhere. This is rook doing nothing. There is this kind of unfortunate little structure here. That's not my favorite thing in the world, so I'll keep an eye on this line. But I could honestly always just move here. Yeah, I think I like that. Let's just break the pin. Threaten this bishop. It's got to go somewhere. Oh, I had a good check. I kind of hate this pawn. I just wish this pawn wasn't here so I could just have my dark rank bishop, or my dark square bishop activated. We're up on time 2. Life is good. I feel bad for my poor queen. She just hasn't been involved. She's wanted to do stuff so bad. She wants to be strong and aggressive. Oh, did I just miss that? Oh yeah, it's not protected. Whoops.
He is correct. It was not protected. However, this is still a fine position for white. Bringing the knight over here to d6. Where's d6? Right here. Kind of, you know, basically at that point. Yeah, and yes, he does bring this other rook up, which is also a perfectly fine move. And now this is just chasing him down. Knight to c5 is check. If you bring the knight over to here with the discovered check with the queen. And that greatly limits the king's options. Knight to f6 is also check, which the king cannot take because of the rook here on there. Knight taking on g5, again, perfectly fine. You can't take back because the king is in check from this queen. Really, it's just a matter of time at this point. He decides instead to push pawn. He does need to. This is really the best option here, though. If he just moves that knight, he is worried though about this this here. I wouldn't be terribly worried. He would have to bring this rook over here first. But yeah, knight to c3 or knight to f6 is mate in 2. So bringing the knight down here, that's check with the queen. Bishop would need to move to e3. Would not be able to take necessarily. Potentially could. I'm not seeing more than 3 lines here, so it's possible that that would be fine. All right. So knight can now take this rook, and that's what black should do here. Just take it. Takes a pawn instead. All right, rook to e6 is check. Very nice. This rook is gonna do some work as well here. So the king moves over. Actually, this is mate in 1. This is mate in 1. Queen f3 is checkmate. Covers those squares. And yep, there it is. There it is. And Dr. Alice, a beautiful game. Taking the win over Eggplatnm in commanding fashion. Beautiful game from both players, and Dr. Alice is the winner of Group A play with 6 points.